shrimp fishery is a major global industry, with more than 3.4 million tons caught per year, chiefly in Asia. A shrimper is a fishing vessel rigged for shrimp fishing, a traditional push net, to be operated by hand near the coast. In use in the Netherlands up to 1955. Small-scale local fishery for shrimp and prawns has existed for centuries and continues to form a large proportion of the world's shrimp fisheries. Trawling increased in scale with the introduction of otter boards, which use the flow of water to hold the trawling net open, and the introduction of steam-powered vessels, replacing the earlier sail-powered boats. Both of these developments took off in the 1880s, and were soon applied to shrimp fisheries, especially following the research effort of the Norwegian marine biologist Johan Hjort. Over time, the original open skiffs, 5 to 8 meters long, were replaced by deck boats, to which diesel engines were added, allowing the boats to reach an average of 18 meters, 59 feet. In the past, the approach to finding and catching shrimp has been largely empirical, and shrimping has been intuitive fishing. Here intuition means a knowledge, or feeling, born of innumerable past observations, most of which were too vague to be explainable alone but which with time add up to conviction. However, in the last couple of decades considerable advances have been made towards formulating fishing technology, and with time the intuitive approach can be replaced at least partially by technical fishing. Through the application of engineering methods, one can now design trawls to assume the underwater shape one wants and to behave as calculated. However, such hybrid gear does not always bring the hoped for increase in catch rates over traditional nets. The main stumbling block is our very incomplete knowledge and understanding of the behavior of shrimp and fish, as well as of other biological and environmental factors. This is, of course, also a major problem in locating shrimp grounds and in finding concentrations of shrimp when fishing. One objective of this paper is to serve as a background to the discussion on shrimp in relation to its environment and availability for capture. Another objective is to describe in considerable detail the gear and mode of operation employed in the major commercial shrimp fisheries, in the hope that this may be of help to beginners in shrimping and possibly of interest to old-timers who are curious to know the equipment. It is clearly beyond the scope of this paper to attempt to deal separately with all the factors listed in the table except to indicate to what extent they are now taken into account in exploratory and/or day-to-day fishing, and whether they could yield further clues, especially if they were better understood. Many of them are touched upon in the following chapters describing commercial shrimping operations, but at this stage a selected few may warrant a separate examination here. 10 Exploring for shrimp in virgin areas. The geographic factors, the first 4 listed in Table I, often provide the first clue. Among the oceanographic factors, perhaps temperature and turbidity provide the most commonly useful clues. Daylight, darkness, moonlight and eventually cloud cover are perhaps those of the meteorological factors which seem to affect catch rates most obviously in the short run, and, of course, the climatological, oceanographic conditions in the long run. The pink shrimp is taken off Florida's east coast, in the East Gulf from Pensacola, Florida, south along the Florida coast, and on the Campeche bank to Ciudad del Carmen, Mexico. The type of bottom in these areas is characterized by sand, shell and coral gravel, and by live coral overlying white, calcareous mud. Within these areas there are extensive grounds with coral, rock and loggerhead sponges which make trawling with standard gear impossible. The normal fishing depths for this species range from 5 to 35 fm. An active fishery exists the year round but is definitely seasonal with regard to effort and catches. In the northeast Gulf the best fishing season extends from early spring to late autumn. On the Tortugas and Campeche grounds peak production is during the winter months. The brown and white shrimp fisheries are off Georgia and Florida's east coast, and from northeast Florida west and south to Ciudad del Carmen, Mexico. The bottom types consist primarily of terrigenous mud with sand out to about 30 fm, 55 meters. Mud lumps and large coral rock structures are common beyond the 50 fm, 91 meters, curve, out to the edge of the shelf. The depth range of the brown shrimp fishery is out to 50 fm, whereas the white shrimp are taken within the 20 fm, 37 meters, curve. Both brown and white shrimp fisheries are seasonal, particularly the whites. These are taken almost entirely during the late autumn and winter. The brown are fished the year round with major production occurring in the late summer and autumn. Royal red shrimp production is still very small and is taken almost entirely from one area off Florida's east coast, although the species is found throughout most of the Gulf of Mexico in the 175 to 250 fm, 320 to 457 meters depth range. In addition to these grounds, the U.S. Bureau of Commercial Fisheries has also located potential commercial concentrations of dry tortugas, Florida and off the mouth of the Mississippi River, Bulleyes, 1956. Large-scale utilization of these resources is probably contingent upon introduction of gear better suited for operation in these much deeper waters. The vessels, gear, and methods of operation have changed drastically over the years, due primarily to increasing availability of reliable power units and the need to operate on deeper and/or more distant grounds. The early shrimp trawlers were open skiffs 15 to 25 feet long, powered with gasoline engines. By the 20s they were decked over, the engine placed forward, and the pilot house added forward. This arrangement remains the standard for today's shrimp trawlers. In the 30s the diesel engine was introduced and average size increased somewhat. During the 40s and 50s the need for larger vessels to exploit offshore grounds resulted in construction of much larger vessels. Average vessel length increased to about 60 feet with many in the 70 to 90 feet range. Of particular interest during this period was the success of production line model shrimp vessels, built to standard specifications with design emphasis on minimum cost. They were 67 feet hulls powered with 150 to 200 horsepower engines and characterized by a very high freeboard. This together with the ample sheer fore and aft provided a very dry working deck. During the 60s the trend has been towards larger, better equipped and more powerful vessels, capable of long distance operations. Most vessels are well fitted with electronic equipment. These include radio telephones, automatic pilots, echo sounders, and frequently LoRaN receivers and radio direction finders. A trend in recent years has been to increasing use of citizens band transceivers for short-range communication. Double-rig otter trawling. The first attempts to develop the double-rig method in the Gulf of Mexico were made by shrimp fishermen at Rockport, Texas, late in 1955. Since then the technique has been virtually universally adopted by fishermen in the southeastern United States and Mexico. It has also been adopted as the standard method by fishermen in recently exploited areas such as Central America, the northeast coast of South America, the Persian Gulf and Nigeria. The rapid acceptance of double rigging by the American fishermen stemmed from recognition of a number of advantages inherent in the method. The most significant of these is the claim of increased catches per vessel. While only estimates of increased catches can be made, many vessel operators believe a 15 to 30% increase is realized. Nake al. 1958. The reasons advanced for the superiority of the method are that two small nets sweep a wider path, have greater horizontal spread than one big net of equal towing resistance, and also fish more efficiently. Trawl gear. The only shrimp fishing gear of significance in this era is the otter trawl. The first commercial shrimp trawls were introduced sometime between 1912 and 1915 off Florida's east coast. These were patterned after the otter trawls then being used by the U.S. Bureau of Fisheries at Beaufort, North Carolina, Anderson, 1958. They were rapidly adopted and by 1917 had displaced the traditional Hall set as the standard commercial gear. In the Gulf of Mexico there are two principal trawl designs, with numerous variations of each. These are the flat trawl and the four-seam semi-balloon. In addition, the two-seam balloon and western jib designs are used, but not nearly so generally. Sizes of trawls vary from 30 to 90 feet, 9 to 27 meters, headline, with the 40 to 60 feet, 12 to 18 meters, size range most common. Trawl size is designated by the headline length, excluding the leg lines. Synthetic netting, primarily nylon, is used almost exclusively, due to its strength, resistance to deterioration and relatively low cost. After assembly, nets are tarred to reduce wear due to abrasion and as a stiffening agent. This is repeated periodically while in use, usually every 6 to 12 weeks. The use of each design is not restricted to specific geographic areas or species as might be expected, but instead all are used on all grounds. It is a common belief that a flat trawl has inherently a wide spread and a low opening height and that the balloon trawl opens high. This is not necessarily so. Although all types can be rigged by the individual fisherman to fish either with a relatively high opening or with a maximum horizontal spread, the latter is normally emphasized. All types are rigged at various times to fish either light or hard on the ground. Measurements by the U.S. Bureau of Commercial Fisheries of 40 feet, 12 meters, trawls in operation revealed that the semi-balloon nets had a wider spread, 32 feet, 10 meters, and a lower headline, 4 feet, 1.2 meters, than the other two designs. The flat trawl spread to 28 feet, 8.5 meters, and headline height was about 5 feet, 1.5 meters. The two-seam balloon trawl configuration was intermediate to these. The measurements are only approximate since the configurations varied widely under different towing conditions. However, the relationships between the three designs under similar conditions were as From Edisto and Beaufort to McClellanville and Georgetown, each morning during shrimp season the air fills with the deep dieseled rumble of these hard-working boats as they head out to sea for a long day of trawling. This is a tough, take-it-on-the-chin, often thankless profession beset with pitfalls, bad weather, engine problems, the breakdown of a $5 part or worse, a torn net. These strong, working boats with flat sterns and high-hulled bows are designed to take the repeated punishment of rough weather and rolling seas. The average size is in the 55 to 78 foot range, but some boats are as small as 25 feet. Rock and roll, trawling is done at a low speed across continuous swells from the ocean which cause the boat to pitch and roll. To ease this rolling motion, triangular-shaped stabilizers attached to the end of the outriggers are lowered into the water. These hydrofoils steady the boat's pitch. Pulling the load, trawling is accomplished by pulling a net, also called trawl, through water behind a boat. A bottom trawl allows the net to brush across the ocean floor. A midwater trawl, as the name implies, is not as deep. A trawl typically lasts from 30 minutes to 3 hours, depending on conditions. A drag often includes bycatch, such as squid, crabs, jellyfish, sharks, and small fish that need to be returned to the water. To relieve bycatch and protect species, two devices are required by law. The turtle exclusion device, which keeps large sea turtles from getting trapped in the net and drowning, and the bycatch reduction device, designed to release small, trash fish. Shrimping is one of the most carefully regulated of all maritime occupations. Each year, usually in May, the opening date of the commercial shrimping season is determined by South Carolina Department of Natural Resources according to weather and shrimp growth cycle. For all of the shrimp that Americans eat, the average American consumes 4.1 pounds of shrimp per year. One might wonder, how do shrimpers catch those delicious wild-caught shrimp? What is surprising to many is that shrimp are an annual crop that is inherently sustainable. The shrimp that our members process are caught in the warmer waters of the Gulf of Mexico and South Atlantic. If these shrimp are not harvested, processed, and eaten, they will die off or be consumed by larger fish in their wild environment. Each year, a new crop of new shrimp will grow and become ready to be harvested. Shrimpers have been generally using the same basic technique to trawl for shrimp using all different sizes of boats, trawlers, for over 100 years, with advancements mainly serving to increase efficiency and improve environmental stewardship. Shrimpers are innately interested in sustaining the environment and the shrimp fishery because their livelihoods depend on it. The primary feature of a shrimp trawler is the trawl itself, a large specialized net that sinks toward the ocean floor and is pulled behind the trawler. The industry has made many vast improvements over the years to ensure that turtles can escape through turtle excluder devices, TEDs, and that bycatch, other fish that end up in the net, is minimized with bycatch reduction devices, BRDs. The industry is strictly regulated to ensure that guidelines developed by the industry and the National Marine Fisheries Service, part of NOAA, are followed. The trawl net shape is similar to a flattened cone, with a wide front end that allows for a large range of capture. The bottom of this mouth is fitted with weights while the top is fitted with buoys, allowing the top to lift up to open the mouth to catch shrimp. In front of the bottom of the net is a metal chain known as a tickler chain. While the net lightly skims across the bottom of the ocean floor, the tickler chain jostles shrimp from the floor to make them more easily caught. The cone structure of the trawl funnels caught shrimp downward until it reaches the bag, where the caught shrimp are kept. The trawls are then hauled in by the boat's powerful wenches, where the catch is released on deck, gathered and iced, or frozen for further sorting and processing. As seen in the video below, the average shrimp boat typically